I think the fear, it's the same thing with coronavirus. When it first happened, everybody was glued to their televisions trying to figure out what was going on. Am I gonna die if I walk right out my door? If I go to the store, am I gonna die? If I don't wash my hands 18 times a day, am I gonna die? And really the fear is just, it's from the unknown, right? And so Black parents have that fear with their kids who may, go out and into the streets. And look, the what we're seeing in the news again is that's the worst case scenario. This is what the worst thing that is going to happen, right? But out of the 40 million Black people who live in America, probably your kid is not going to die at the hands of a police officer when they leave your house. But it's the unknown. It's not knowing, am I going to be part of that, whatever, 0.001%? And then also, for those of us who are talking about, white privilege, and I'm white and I'm not sure, if I'm contributing to racism or not, probably you are contributing to racism, right? But it's the unknown. It's not knowing how that makes us on edge or anxious or afraid. So the answer to fear, no matter what the situation is education, right? We just have to become more educated around it. And now that we're more aware of what the effects of coronavirus has been, people are less afraid about it now, so unafraid that they'll go to a protest and stand half a foot away from somebody. But if that same protest was going to be happening 2 or 3 months ago, probably no one would go out there because they were too afraid and they didn't know what was going to happen. So, I know, Chris, you mentioned the fact that we're all getting all these resources now. I would say, and I haven't looked at all the films and everything, but I would say if you were just going to do one thing to educate yourself, which can kind of be like a gateway to other things if you want to go further or deeper into it, I would say to start by just watching the documentary 13th. It does a great job of just talking about a cross-section of issues to give you a nice snapshot of privilege and of institutionalized racism and how it all ties together with slavery and post-slavery era and all Jim Crow and all of those things. And now you'll have, just within 2 hours, you'll have a basic walking around knowledge of how the whole thing kind of works. And you'll be able to see those situations in that same lens, which will give you a completely different understanding of how things like the George Floyd situation can even happen. Because really, I don't believe that police officers wake up in the morning and say, okay, I'm about to go be racist today. I don't think that's what's happening. I think that what we're all experiencing, Black people included, are years and years and decades and really generations of bias. We all are biased based on our personal experiences. Many Black people don't like dogs, probably from some generational trauma related to being attacked by dogs. White people don't like, thug looking Black people for whatever reasons. Like, we all have these really crazy stereotypical biases that most of the time are just like the stereotypes, right? And nothing is going to happen. But the less we educate ourselves around, why do these guys dress like that? Where is that even coming from? And what's that family structure like? And I think once you can see the connections, your fear will start to completely go away. And then once the surface level fear goes away, what you're going to be left with is your intuition, your internal guidance. And our internal guidance is always going to be there, alerting us of what the best course of action is, or who's a truly shady character, because there's some shady ass Black people, there's some shady white people, every race has some shady characters, right? But if you project your fear onto every person of that race, then you end up being a part of the problem. You're you're acting racist with unintentionally, mostly, subconsciously, just because we walk around with all this fear because we're not educated about how these people ended up in this situation. So that reduces the racist stuff, and it leaves behind the true stuff that will guide you away from the shady characters and in the directions of, whatever opportunities are also present in that moment. And I've experienced that several times in my life. I'm sure you've experienced it too, where you get a hunch about something and it ends up being completely accurate, and there's no way you could have known it because it was around the corner. So you didn't see it, you felt it, right? And so that's there all the time. But then when you have all our other fears and anxieties that are trying to get our attention as well, and that's, again, just to bring it back to our inner work, that's the value of our inner work, right? When you go to therapy and you unpack the things that are making you feel anxious and afraid, right? You may uncover some old thing that happened in childhood, and then that is no longer contending with your attention. And then you sit down into your meditation and you're able to release trauma from, that one time you got bullied in school, and it happened to be with a Native American guy. And that may be one of the causes of you inadvertently discriminating against Native Americans or thinking that all of them are bad people. So then that goes away. And then how do you know it's going away? Because you don't find yourself rejecting or feeling averse around certain people or certain circumstances for no real tangible reason, right? And that inclusion and diversity comes as a result of that, because that's our nature is to include. Our nature is to love and feel connected to good people, to nice people, to people who give us great energy, right? And people like that most of the people in the world are like that. Most people are good people. Most people have great intentions. Most people just want to, serve and just get through the day and be helpful and all of that. But we don't want to let the few bad apples in the world color our conscious awareness of people who are different from us. So I think racism itself is just a symptom of us being neglectful with our own house, with our own inner work. And I think, and that's why they call it work. It's because it doesn't go away easily. We have to actually commit to it. We have to be intentional about it, and we have to be consistent with it.